with the Catholicism and what would become Santeria and all the other sort of iterations of Yoruba religion, there was a blending of religion. The Santeria, in fact, is a blending of that. And there were aspects of African culture that could survive that sort of demonization because it was sort of masked in the syncretic religion of a little bit of, oh, the Orisha are correlating to such and such a saint. This is the Virgin Mary, or this is the such and such. And so there's a sense of that combination of idols, essentially, and aspects of the divine that survived the experience. Whereas in Protestant cultures, it was a little bit more kind of it was a little bit more strongly eradicated. Um, and so, for example, on St. Croix, where I'm from, and the Danish West Indies, you had Lutherans, you had a lot of Moravians, you had Lutherans and Anglicans. Um, and those traditions didn't really make a whole lot of room for that kind of syncretic aspect. Now, people still had that, but it was sort of practiced sort of in secret. There was a sort of a compartmentalization for that. But generally, the mission of the missionaries was to convert and to essentially do so by branding African religion as devil worship. Um, so it just kind of shapes out different ways. We do have some traditions in the Danish West Indies. Jumbi is sort of the one of the spirits. Is we talk about Jumbi as sort of it's a part of the folklore. And I was actually just reading something today that was talking about Jumbi. And I remember growing up with Jumbi. Jumbi was very much an African sort of uh, good and bad spirit, and it can kind of have a lot of different meanings. It's sort of a catch-all in some ways, but it's definitely something that's African derived. And it is certainly, still regarded as like the spirit, the spooky kind of spirit. And there are all kinds of Jumis. There's all kind of folklore and, stuff that kind of has sort of been passed down from generations about Jumbi. And we do have Africanisms in the interview we did. I talked about carnival, and I talked about the Mokojumbi, and I talked about obviously a lot of the sort of aspects of carnival culture that are very much African. So we do have a lot of Africanisms. Um, but as far as demonization, um, it's a little bit different than say like in Haiti, or in Jamaica with Obi and stuff like that. Also, St. Croix is a smaller island, and although there's plenty of mountains and there's a lot of places for people to exist, it's a smaller island than places like Hispaniola and Jamaica. So, in terms of maroon communities, you don't find as many as you do in some of the bigger islands where people could live very isolated sort of cultural lives, where they could preserve culture